You hear a lot about how people, or especially gamers, are fairly introverted and they have this social meter that once it's filled, they can't go outside and do anything. They just want to go back home, chill, and play games. Well, I am the exact opposite. I have a social meter that almost has no ceiling, yet I never fully fulfill it. So for context today, I've already gone to the gym. I've streamed a good bit, but I haven't been outside and I haven't done anything, and it's bugging the absolute crap out of me. Oop, gotta run. So I figured I got to go grab dinner. I'm gonna go up to Whole Foods, walk up there, and figured I'd bring you all with, and let's talk about my vote for the All-Pro list for the LCS. I'm gonna save MVP. Actually, you know what? I'll just include them all in one video, and if I need to chop it up, then I will. So for context, this is now the second time that I've gotten to vote for anything related to League of Legends. The first being arguably one of the highest honors I've ever actually received. I got an invite during Worlds to vote for the World's Final MVP. And yes, I did vote for King, and he eventually got it. But it was just surreal in the moment to realize that I could actually play a part in that. This one, even though it's not as big scale, LCS MVP technically doesn't mean as much as World's Finals MVP. It's special to me because the LCS is my home region. It's obviously everything that I care about and the reason why I'm even got started in content creation in the first place. About 3 weeks ago, I did get the email that I was asked to vote for MVP, so the moment I got that, I started tweeting out, hey, here's my hypothetical All-Pro list, at least at the time being. I wasn't sure if I'd actually get to say publicly that I was voting for it or not. We, Mark Z and crew, we know that they actually have a vote. For me, given that it was first time, I wasn't sure, so I didn't directly say it, but now, obviously, the time has come. So, let's go over the list, but let me get my food first. One of the nicer changes that New York City's made is these expanded walk lanes. The green ones are the bike lanes, obviously the sidewalk is the sidewalk, but you now have a lot more wiggle room to work with. Lincoln Center remains one of my favorite areas in all of Midtown, I guess. Technically it's on 59th, which is the border of the Upper West Side, but I think it's still technically Midtown. I'm not sure. Alright, dinner's done, so let's talk about this. We'll start with top lane because it seems like it's the most obvious out of the crew. Fudge first All-Pro, Impact second All-Pro, and then third Someday. Even though Someday had a pretty bad final games, EG had a bad final games, there were still a bunch of individual moments that he was good, and over the course of the 19 games that they played, he still solidified himself as the third best player, at least in my opinion. Fudge, I don't really think much needs to be said there. I think he should be unanimous first pro all team. He's the Mario of top laners. He'll do decently well against you in lane, beat you in 1v1s, his macro's just better, and Impact is just a reliable top. He's second, he's not first, he's not what Fudge is, but he's a very close second. Okay, on to jungle. I think pretty self-explanatory that Blabber and Spica were always going to be 1-2 in this category. For me, Blabber gets the edge. The later half of the split was incredible from them. Even though statistically he hasn't had one of his MVP level splits, he's still playing incredibly well. And it goes without saying, he played with two different mid laners, was 7-2 with one, and I don't even know their second half record, but it was pretty damn good enough to finish first in the entire split. So yeah, he's clear number one with Spica number two. Number three might surprise people. I don't think Contracts was on people's list for a while, but not only did CLG finish third, him and Palafox were the main reasons why that even happened. Had the two of them not played incredibly well, I don't think you would have this, because Luger and Poom had somewhat of a regression in this split, in my opinion, which, shifting the mid, and this might give me some crap, but that's fine. M&S is not available for All-Pro, in my opinion. You have to play the entire split to get that award, but I think there is no denying the impact that he has had on Cloud9 and how much better they have looked with him in the roster, the flexibility that he has opened up for them, as well as his insane 1v1 play in lane. He's legitimately phenomenal, and in a world where mids the split just didn't really stand out besides him and Gory, it kind of was what it was. As I just mentioned, Palafox gets my easy number 3 nod. He's been by far and away one of the more consistent mid laners in the LCS. Again, I apologize if there's wind at all. He's just been consistent enough to the point where CLG was able to rise up to third while everybody else was kind of collapsing around them. Granted, or well, fourth, sorry for them because they lost 100 Thieves, but Bjergsen's not on this list. ADC might be more controversial than people give it credit for. Prince had one hell of a beginning of the split, kind of tapered off in the middle, but then came back strong at the end. Berserker was Mr. Consistent all the way through. But I gotta give it to Prince. The way he single-handedly was carrying that Flag West rosters to some of their wins is really standout to me. That, like, no other player in the LCS, and with the exception of Gory, was single-handedly changing the way their team operated and played like him. Third, look, some people are going to come at me for bias on this one, but Doublelift started off the split hot. Yes, he had a rougher middle portion of the split, but then the last 2 weeks, he looked insanely well. And even in some of those losses, he still looked decent. Yes, there were some pretty bad mistakes, but there have been pretty bad mistakes from literally every player in the LCS this year. So I'm not grading it ultimately on how many times you messed up, but rather how high were your highs. And when the roster is clearly around Doublelift or playing around him, and he's drawing 3 bans every game and still putting up numbers, especially in the later portions of the split and the beginning portions of the split, he's third. And I don't think that's too far to say out there. I know some people will have the vendetta against him, but I just think it's a very fair assumption to have him at 3. Support's a weird one. I've been pretty locked on Sven 1, Vulcan 2 for about a week and a half now. Third, I had Huhi. Their slump has made me question this, but then the more I looked into the numbers, he just looks like one of the more consistent support players in the league. His obviously the first portion of his split alongside Stixxay. Stixxay was in the running for All-Pro for many people until their collapse. But I think a lot of what made Stixxay good was Huhi, and Huhi has continuously not gotten the credit he's deserved over the last few years. Yes, he's made some bad plays historically, but looking just at this split, he played pretty well, all things considered, and honestly was a really good shot caller for the team, which is not something that can kind of be measured within any individual category, support, ADC, mid, etc. But it's worth noting and attaching to the player, and that's an intangible that puts him a level above. The shot calling is clearly there for him, and it's one of the reasons why Golden Guardians was even considered to be a top 3 team in the league at any point in time. Okay, quick note while editing this, I realized that All-Pro ballots are probably going to be publicly released at a different time than MVP, so even though I said I was going to talk about them together, and I did, I need to cut out the MVP portion of this and have it in its own separate video whenever all of our ballots are made public later. I don't like, as a fan, whenever people put all the information out there and you can piece together who's the MVP already. I don't want that to happen. So I'm not going to talk about my MVP voting until after everything's made available, and then my YouTube video will be out. So be sure to tune in for that, and I'll have a separate vlog thing for that. Anyways, that's going to be it for me. That's my MVP and All-Pro listing. Let me know who is on your list, who you have that I might not have or I might be overlooking. And also let me know if you like these vlog style videos that talk about this. Obviously, I could sit down in a room and talk to any specific topic. But honestly, I really like the chance to just get out, walk around, engage with people, and just, I don't know, have these conversations, because by all means I'm saying hi to a bunch of people and just talking in general for these. Yes, I'm that weird guy that would walk into Times Square just to be around people because I don't like being alone, yet I'm too introverted to ask people, hey, want to go out to a bar and grab a drink? So, sucks, but it is what it is. Let me know your thoughts. Hope you like the style. Be sure to drop a like, comment, and subscribe. See you on the next video.